To understand conscious business, we first need to have an understanding of what consciousness is. So consciousness is universal. We can say that there is one mind in the universe and each of us is connected to that one mind. And though we may think we are separate, though we may think that we are separate because each of us has our own brain and we have our own thoughts and we see things via our own perceptions, essentially each of us is an individuated, wholly and completely integrated biologic reference point for consciousness to experience itself from. Now, how that translates into business. Within conscious business, we need to recognize and acknowledge that any organization, any sporting team, any group has its own consciousness. There'll be a consciousness of the group, so a collective consciousness. Now, that consciousness as it relates to business, each organization has its own objectives. Those objectives may be profits, they may be more sales, they may be changing the world, they will be whatever each organization sets those objectives up to be. Now, where those objectives and where that vision comes from is from the very top. So that's where we need to start from, because the way things work with mind is that there is a hierarchy of influence. And the higher up you are within an organization, then the greater influence you have. The lower you are in the organization, the less influence you have. So we start with the top and we get very, very clear about what the goals, what the objectives, what the vision of that organization actually are. And once we're clear about what the vision and the objectives are, then from there, once that is implanted into the subconscious and into the consciousness of the management team and the management level, from there we can go to the employees. And from there, if you know what collective consciousness is, to get an idea of what collective consciousness is, you don't have to look as far as nature. And everybody has seen, or at least seen images of huge flocks of birds flying all as one and moving as one, or big schools of fish moving as one. And it's as if there's one mind governing that huge number of individuated brains or minds within the group. And you can see them all moving as one. Nobody bumps into anybody. They all just seem to know exactly when to turn and where to go. Now, the same thing can be achieved within an organization. And when that same thing is achieved within the same organization, when everybody's energies are on the same level and working towards the same purpose, then things tend to flow a whole lot more easily and success is much, much, much greater. The other thing that needs to be taken care of within conscious business is transforming stress. So essentially what we can do is transform the collective stress of the organization. And as you can imagine, that's an incredibly powerful thing to do, because when you can transform all of the stress that is collectively experienced within an organization, then instantly it becomes a far better place to work and a far more productive place to work. Stress robs us of access to the conscious mind. When we lose access to the conscious mind, we are literally less intelligent. And then at that point, we are far less productive. So if we can remove stress, which we can, across the entirety of an organization, then straight away, it's a happier place to work and it's going to be a far more productive place to work. If we set up the collective consciousness all towards the one objective so that the organization is working more as one mind, then all of the individuated reference points within that consciousness have, on some level, they have an awareness of what is going on at every other point in the organization. And what that looks like on the ground is that if I'm working at one end of the organization on a particular task, I just have an awareness of when somebody needs to know something about what I'm doing, or somebody needs to be informed, or somebody needs to be sent something. And everybody can keep everybody on the same page because we're all at the same level of mind, all moving towards the one objective.